Hey folks, Kevin here, and in this video I'm showing you how to implement the real-time OpenAI's real-time API on mobile. To start, I've had a lot of trouble with this real-time API, and the main thing I've had trouble with is tool calling. So, it's very great. It has this nice documentation to set up the API, but when it comes to calling tools, it's really kind of difficult. And I think looking at the forums and looking at some things online, it seems like others are struggling with that. In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect it, get the tool call functionality working, so that all happens seamlessly. So anyway, I'm just going to show you how this works. So I'm going to press this button, and then it's going to start the real-time client. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How can I assist you today?
Hopefully you can hear the audio.
Yes, I can hear audio, but if you're referring to a specific sound or file, I might not have the capability to listen to it directly. How can I help you further?
Yeah, I need to update my email in the system.
Sure, I can help with that. Could you please provide the new email address you'd like to use?
Yeah, I think it's ben@franklin.com. I need to update it to ben.franklin@gmail.com.
Your email has been successfully updated to ben.franklin@gmail.com. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's all. That's all. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. If you need anything else, feel free to ask. Have a great day.
Okay, so you can see there that it updated that email, and that's a function call, right? So basically what happened is that the chat sent the tool to the server, and the function called and updated the email in the system. So I created this function to do that. But what's really I wanted to show in this video is how. So I'm going to pull in, first I'm going to show this. So this is API. This is OpenAI's API documentation, and basically over webRTC, you get a token from the server, from your server, and then it calls OpenAI to get this token. This is a good place to mention that you can create your assistant or your agent here and add your tool calls at this step, which is what I did. So basically I said, this is the assistant that I want you to create. These are the tool calls. These are the properties, that sort of thing. So it knows what tools it has. It creates the token, and then you send that down to the client. For those of you who want the code, I'm going to put all the code in the show notes. But for now, I'm just going to do this kind of high level. So anyway, so it sends the token down to the client, and then it opens up the session with OpenAI so that you can kind of have this conversation back and forth. I like the webRTC as opposed to the WebSockets because it handles all like the audio stuff, and I don't really want to mess with all that. And so it seems to be a little bit easier. But the real trouble occurs when you call a tool. So in my setup, I'm just going to show this. All the tools are called on the server, right? So I don't want to do all this tool calling on the client because that opens up all sorts of issues. A lot of the server side tool calling is like interacting with a database and that sort of thing. So it's really important for all that to occur on the server side. And so I'll show you kind of how it all works at a high level, then I'll kind of jump in the code if we have a sec. So here's what we just saw. So you get the token, so you have a call to your server, and then that goes to OpenAI and then gets the token, passes it back down to the client to start the real-time session. So that's great. So then you saw that this was like the back and forth that I had initially, where once you start the session, it's just open, and that's kind of communicating with OpenAI, handles all that with all the kind of boilerplate code that it has in the API documentation. So it works really well. It's great. It handles that interrupts. It handles pauses. It's really nice. So it's really slick. So I would recommend obviously using that. So now the tool calling. So what happens when the tool calling? So basically what happens is when I said, can I update my email? There was an event that was sent down to the client that said, I can get the exact event type, but basically that it needs to call a tool and the tool name and the tool arguments, right? So here's what happens. So basically I listen for that event, takes the information from the tool call, so this is the name and the arguments, and passes it to my server. I find the tool that needs to be called by the tool name, so the tool name's unique. And so then I find the tool, I parse the arguments, and then use the tool on the server side to to call the tool, whatever it is, add the name and email to the database, and then that the response is then sent back down through the server to the client, and then essentially resets the chat to say, this tool was called and this is the response. So basically says to the webRTC session, restart the chat with this information. And so all that happened, you can see in the beginning of that video, that happened when I said update my email, kind of happened pretty quickly, so it's pretty nice. And then once all that happens, it just restarts that chat again until the next tool call happens. So this is the basic kind of setup that I wanted to kind of go over. It's a little weird, right? Because you're having the client figure out when you want to have the tool call and then send that out to the server. Usually what's happening is, for everything other than real time in my setup, the server is communicating with OpenAI. But in this case, the only part of the communication that the server has with OpenAI is when there's is first when the token's created, and then when the tool the response is created, it sends that back to the client. So a little bit different. Usually what would have happened is this response would be sent to the server to kind of restart the tool calling flow in the streaming. So usually when you're using like an assistant API, you're using streaming, and so that all happens kind of on the server. But because this is a WebRTC client, you need to send that response back down to the client. So this confused me a lot when I first got started. It was a little bit different than the way that the assistant streaming API worked, and so I wanted to post this. Seemed like I said, other people are struggling with this, so hopefully it's helpful for others. And I'll post a gist of the code that I have for doing all this in the show notes. So thanks for watching.